transform, work on yourself, and get closer with God. Because a lot of people, they don't know what you go through, because some people make it look good. And I think I always made it look so good, but it was like, it has not been like that. And be okay with sharing it. I tell people all the time, if you cannot talk through it, talk around it. At one point, I could not talk through it because in this moment, I would have just burst out in tears. Now, because I've transformed and I worked on myself, I can talk through it. And so transform, work on yourself, lose the weight, clear your skin, get around different people, change your environment, because it really starts to make you look at yourself and say, yes, I did go through this, or yes, I did go through that. But look at Becky. She's amazing. She looks, it makes you see if she can, I can too. And that was the changing factor for me.
Welcome to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, where we, Becky
and Monique, your new biz besties, both busy moms just like you.
We're here to talk all things network marketing, mom life, and how to truly live out your calling. We'll be dropping 2 episodes each week to help you, the busy mompreneur, know the exact strategies to build both your business and your home. You'll hear each week from one of the top network marketers on their best tips for what's led to their success and what's working now.
We know that you're here because you are called to something more. You have a desire to succeed in both your business and at home, and we are going to teach you how. If you love what you hear here on the podcast and want to be one of our success stories, join us inside our community, the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, where we provide a daily social media action plan, additional resources, kingdom coaching, and more. Click the show notes for the link to join. So let's get into the episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur podcast. It is myself, Monique, and Becky. Hello, Becky.
Hey, guys.
And every week we bring you a top network marketer or coach who we feel like can encourage you. We feel like their story is inspiring, something that you can learn from. And today you guys are going to be, your jaw is going to drop because Chrissy Barnett is in the house today. Hello, Chrissy.
Hi guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Welcome to the podcast. So Chrissy is with GoFinity. She has the #1 team in GoFinity. She is a leader. She is an entrepreneur. She is a mom to her 12-year-old boy. She is from Michigan, and she got into the network marketing space when her son was 9 years old, and she was looking for a way to have more flexibility, a way to create income. And she really saw the opportunity and hit the ground running and has been such a light to so many. She has been an example of building community, what it looks like to lead, what it looks like to build community. And so Chrissy, welcome. We would love for you to share. Can you tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in your business?
Yeah, sure. So hello, everybody. My name is Chrissy Barnett. As she said, I am a mom. I'm a business owner. And at one point in my life, I did work a 9-to-5. And so that's kind of how I tapped into the direct sales space. So I worked in the finance industry. So my time was just always like, I never had time. And raising my son, as he started to grow into a speech impairment, which started to really hinder his confidence. And I found myself not being able to really tap into it and help him the way I wanted to, because I was just on the go. So it was wake up, go to school, go to work, come home, do it all over again. So I didn't really have the time. So I also wanted a little extra funds to be able to do more things with my son, travel and things like that. So I was on social media one day at work, just scrolling, and I seen a friend that I actually went to high school with. And she was actually in a company, and she was looking to lose weight. And I needed to lose a couple pounds too, because after I had my son, to be honest, I just did not have the time to even start working out or trying to lose weight. So okay, this would be a great opportunity to start losing weight. So she sent me some products. I started to use them, got results, and it just went from there. I think I made my first $300 because I would be at work, just sitting at my desk, making like the greens or doing stuff like that. And people would ask me like, what are you using? What are you doing? And I would just tell them, and then I would also let them have some. So I started doing that, seeing how easy it was. But then it clicked like, hey, if you could really take this up a notch, you can get your time back. And I really wanted my time. So COVID came 2020, and that's when I realized like how much I really wanted to, instead of being at home, just being at home, like I could like work from home. So I started to take my business very serious, got on social media, and I started to really build my community and connect. From there, I was able to walk away from my 9 to 5, become a full-time entrepreneur. At that time, because of the company, I think I made over $100,000 in 8 months during that time. And so at that moment, I just started to really work on myself, just strengthen my relationship with God, working on myself, my body, and spending more time with my son. And now I do it full time. I love it. I love coaching and helping my team and community just be better versions of themselves. And that's kind of how I tapped in and how I'm here today.
Okay, well, first of all, congratulations on the success and I love how you just kind of grazed over like, yeah, I made $100,000 in 8 months, and then we're all like, what? I think everyone's ears perked up when you said that. And I know it's not all about money, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
that's probably why that wasn't the big focus, but it is inspiring, especially for the mom who would love to take her time back. I think that is such a powerful gift that you have tapped into that now you're able to share with others. And so I would love to hear kind of how did that transition look for you? Did you plan it out? Did you just kind of feel like it was like a rip the Band-Aid moment off because of
It was a
COVID?
rip the Band-Aid moment. Cause okay, so we were all in the house. And so I was working at home. And then I was actually on the phone because I worked in a department where their car would get repossessed. And so I would have to help them like re-alter their loan to help them get back into the vehicle. So I was talking to a mom, and when I was on the phone talking to her, immediately when I pick up the phone, she just starts screaming at me. I had a great day before I got on the phone, and I would always like prepare myself for my day. So these people were very irate. And when I'll never forget, I got on the phone, her car was just repossessed, and I think her kids or somewhere, they was in the store or something. And then she just started yelling at me, calling me all kind of names because she was upset with me, even though it was the company that took the car. And I
Right.
think after that call, I put myself in like park mode or something like that. And I took a moment and I was like, you know what? Have to do this. Like, I don't have to be talked to like this. And, I told my supervisor, I sent her a nice email because I was up for a promotion, which is why my supervisor and my manager at that time was like, Christina, are you serious? Are you sure? I'm like, you know what? I've been making good money in my business. I think I'm just gonna put my all into me because I can't take this anymore. It's like a verbal abuse type thing, and it was triggering me too. So it was like, I know that this is not something that I will be able to deal with. And I don't want to be that person that lash out on someone because you're triggering me not knowing what's going on with me. I said, you know what? I'm going to have to let this go. So they were more than understanding of that. And I left. And it was just like, then I was like, wow, now you got to pay these bills. So it's time to get to work.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I love that. And I know that when you make that transition, there is a lot of faith, there is a lot of trusting in God's leading. And I'm sure you were prayerful about that decision. But something that is interesting is one, you did not take it from other people and you were like, all right, I've had enough of being mistreated. I think that speaks volumes for us. We teach people how to treat us. And so
Yeah.
if you're allowing something, then it's going to continue versus saying, hey, this is not how I want to continue to be treated. And something else that you mentioned is when you made that transition, you said, I told myself I was going to go all in. And I think that's a good recognition because sometimes someone might make the transition and, they spend their day doing laundry or running errands or going to lunch with friends or, doing all these other things. And they haven't really made the transition. They've just, started being home, but they're not really
Yeah.
working their business. And I think there's something to be said about when you're making, because I made that transition also, when you're making the transition from working your full-time job to making your network marketing job your full-time job, you actually have to work it like a full-time
Yeah.
business. What can you speak to that?
Yes, that's actually very spot on. So the one thing that I did, because I knew that if I did not treat it like a 9 to 5, so the way I came into it was the only way I knew. I worked the job forever. So I knew how to clock in and clock out, and I knew how to make sure that every hour of my day was devoted to something that helped my job. So what I did was I had to actually like write down the schedule. Like I gave myself breaks. So I like made it as if I was working my job, but this was my job. So I had times where I would actually talk to people on social media, times where I would send samples, times where I would make myself go outside and pass out flyers like on cars and while my son is at school. I took advantage of the time when my son was at school, and I made sure like I literally worked. So like I treated it like a job. And I think that really was the reason why I was successful, because I didn't just, because if when you do work for yourself, I think sometimes you realize that you do control your time. And so you'll find yourself watching TV, like you say, doing laundry, the things that you do when you're off work. And so I had to really put myself on a schedule. And then I made sure like I did things and had particular supplements that I had to do to help me focus. Because if I didn't, and sometimes I got out of my house, a lot of times I would get out of the house, go to like Starbucks or the library, and put myself in places that made me still feel like I was at work until I got out of the mindset.
Okay, I think that is one of the best pieces of advice that mothers, like women who are either a stay-at-home mom and you're like homeschooling and trying to do all these things, and you feel like, or even just like you said, like you're working this as a side hustle and working a
Yeah.
full-time job. But if you want to step into that full-time income, right, you have to treat it. It's like you treat it like a full-time job, it will pay you like a full-time job.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I would love to know kind of during this process, right? I'm assuming you also started tapping into this concept of team building. So what
Yeah.
did that look like? Were you like, let's do this? Were you confident about it? Or did you think, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing? Like, I would love to know a little bit about as you're stepping into this, you've got this schedule, you're recognized, like you said, I got to pay these
Mhm.
bills. How did sharing the business with others look for you?
It was very scary. I wasn't confident in it because it was just something new. And so what I had to do was I had to literally find my why, like the reason why I was doing it, because it started to help connect me with people who were on the same mindset as me. So what I mean is that it was people who were tired of being mistreated, felt like their jobs were triggering them, and they needed a way to be able to make extra money. They needed something to help uplift them. So when I started to build, I wanted to go after people that fit, like that was like authentic to my story. So
Mhm.
therefore, when I talked to them, I was able to talk to them about my story, but then kind of tell them how I was able to walk away and then be able to make extra money by working on myself. So the building for me started off very, very rocky, and I had to build community. Community is the reason why I was able to build a team. If I did not build community, I would not have been able to build a team. And I think community for me started not in the Facebook group. It started just by just sharing my authenticity, my failures, my wins, and being okay with it. And then more people just started to gravitate to the story and be like, give me your information, or what is that you're doing? And then people started asking me questions.
Yeah. So basically, you kind of summarized saying that when you went on social media, you were attracting a past version of yourself. That's one of the things we talk about in, how to find your niche is a lot of times your niche is that version of you who was maybe 5 steps behind where you are currently. And so
Correct.
basically you're saying like I was speaking to that person and you're connecting with that person, and what it does is it's like, okay, this is where you were, and then you show them where you are headed, where you're
Yeah.
going, and you basically give them a roadmap. Hey, is this where you want to go also? So I love that that was your focus on social media. So I know that you have a community called the Pray and Slay Facebook community, and you have built a large amount of rapport there. You've connected with people. Tell us a little bit about that community and how do you connect with people on social media?
Yeah, so I started with Pray and Slay. And with that community, I no longer have it because we kind of grew into something else, but I'll start with how I started. So in that community, it started with, like you say, women who were past versions of me. They were not very confident in themselves. They were looking for something to be empowered by. They were trying to figure out their relationship with God within their authenticity to be able to start one with Him. And so in this community, we would share just different things about helping with your self-care, different ways to pray. On Tuesdays we had a day called Testimony Tuesday, where people share like testimonies of things that just help them grow. I would get on there and go live, and I would just like, sometimes it would be days where I'm like, okay, like I give me something to talk about to them, let me know, and then he'll just leave me on a YouTube video or something like that. So I would come in the group first thing in the morning because I had all this time. So I would come in there in the morning, just give them motivation before they went to work, kind of talking to the same person that I once was, driving to work, not wanting to go to work, but knowing I need to do it to take care of my family. So when I started to really connect and build rapport with them, it was just through making sure I gave them like tools and resources to help them in that journey. And then I started to help people. And that's when a lot of people started to just look to me for guidance, which is when I started to tap into the whole coaching era. But I just had a community full of guidance, full of people who really look like them. So then, because I feel like sometimes when we're going through things, we think we're alone. So to bring women together to see like, yeah, I used to be just like you, and now I'm like this, I understand where you are. It makes you a little more okay about where you are so you can get from that level. So that's what that community was about. And it grew to over 8,000 women. And then eventually I stopped because I realized that God was taking me on a different journey and He needed me to take time to work on me. And I couldn't lead people blindly. So I had to give it a break,
Oh, that's
which is
good.
hard.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so I want to revisit one thing and then I gotta have another question. So was this a free Facebook community, free
Yes.
Facebook group? Okay, so for those of you who are listening on the podcast, I just want to make an observation here is you basically were like, hey, here's a free resource on social media that I'm going to take advantage of Facebook groups on Facebook. And you built it up to 8,000 women and you showed up consistently. You offered value. I just think that that is an incredible, incredible testimony of, or testament of Facebook groups and the power of a Facebook group. And then secondly, I wanted to say, I love that you paused it because you wanted to be able to hear where God was leading you next. And I think that's so wise, especially in leadership, is when you get to a point in leadership where you feel like, hey, either we need to shift or something's changing or something's not working or anything like that. It's always wise to make sure, okay, if I'm leading, you're essentially leading 8,000 people. If I'm leading this group of people, am I still in alignment with what God has called me to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think too, something that I just love in general is that you created a resource, right, for people and kind of a community, obviously, right? Like a virtual space where people feel safe, they feel seen, and you're able to speak to that woman, right? That mom, that, the people in that community, and not only be like, I get it, I've been where you've been, and here are some things to help you get to, where I am now or where I'm going. And I would love for you to share if someone feels like they're kind of lacking in confidence and they're like, I don't know what I have to share. Like, did you feel that way in the beginning when you were starting your
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
community? Were you like, what am I supposed to talk about? What do I do? Like, what kind of gave you the inspiration behind the community Pray and Slay?
So that's a really good question, because what gave me the inspiration behind it was because I felt like that. So I felt like I did not have a story. I did not know what my purpose was. And so I felt like an oddball, because you would watch, because me being someone who's seen these women just doing amazing things, I'm just looking at my life like my life does not look like that. So to me, I was like, well, I can't really share my story because I don't have this or I don't have that. And comparison is literally that's what the enemy wants you to do. Compare yourself so you don't feel like you're good enough to do it. And that's what I was doing. So the community came because I'm like, if I'm feeling like this, I always been that person. I'm like, if I'm feeling like this, there gotta be other people feeling like this. And because I literally have a heart to genuinely help people, I'm like, I'll be vulnerable enough to just start it And it just started with people from my hometown. So it started with just a small group of women. And then I was in other Facebook groups because this was the thing. I was in a small town. I did not know a lot of people. So when you're building a network marketing business, that's usually the biggest thing. Like, I don't know anyone. I don't know how to find anyone. So I'm like, well, that's the same for me. So I'm just going to go in other communities similar to mine and just pour out the same resources in this community, which made more women gravitate to be on my main page, would make them come into my group. So that's how I was able to build my team, like, because my team is not from where I'm from, they're all over.
Yeah.
So the inspiration came from not knowing, like feeling like I didn't have anything to give. Like,
Yeah. So someone looks at you and they're like, okay, Chrissy has all the things. She's doing all the things. She has all the things. You know, I would not look at you and see a lack of confidence or any of those things. But if you are speaking to someone who is maybe just starting out, or maybe they don't know the other side of your story, what struggles have you had to walk through? Like, what are the hardships that you've had to overcome to get to where you are today?
yeah. So, man, a lot, literally. So I literally, at one point in my life, I lost it all. I didn't have anything. Like, I went bankrupt. To be as young as I was going bankrupt, that was very, very embarrassing, especially because I came from the finance industry. So once I lost everything, like literally my car, my home, and everything else, I just was like, okay, that made my confidence go down, which made me gain a lot of weight. So the one thing that I would literally tell anyone that is in a situation where, like, it looks like life is amazing for me, but before it was not like that. What I had to do was transform, not just physically, but I had to transform within the mind. I had to literally transform my entire self. And I took a piece of paper, and I call it a self-love convention. I had a self-love convention with myself, and everything I did not like about myself, I wrote it down. And I was very honest with me, and I decided to fix it. I lost my second child in September 2020. And that was another thing. As a mom, I felt like, like, man, I'm just not even woman enough to bear a child, which was one of my biggest breakdowns. And so I'm like, you know what? Transform, work on yourself, and get closer with God. Because a lot of people, they don't know what you go through, because some people make it look good. And I think I always made it look so good, but it was like, it has not been like that. And be okay with sharing it. I tell people all the time, if you cannot talk through it, talk around it. At one point, I could not talk through it because in this moment, I would have just burst out in tears. Now, because I've transformed and I worked on myself, I can talk through it. And so transform, work on yourself, lose the weight, clear your skin, get around different people, change your environment. Because it really starts to make you look at yourself and say, yes, I did go through this, or yes, I did go through that. But look at Becky. She's amazing. She looks, it makes you see, if she can, I can too. And that was the changing factor for me.
Yeah. Oh, that is so powerful. And I just love the vulnerability of what you just shared, because I think you're exactly right. You know, on social media, not, I think, because people mean to, but a lot of times all we see is the highlight reel, right? Like, we see the
Yep.
pretty, the Instagram worthy stuff. And, I tell people all the time when they're like, I don't know if I'm ready to talk about this. I'm like, that's okay. But, someday, just like you said, when you do get through it, your story will become someone else's survival guide. And I remind myself of that even when I'm going through stuff. And I just think that so many women need to hear that, because life is messy, it is
Mm-hmm.
hard. And I think there is beauty on the other side, but you have to work through it and work on yourself in order to get to that. It's
Yeah.
like, it's just such a testimony, your story. And thank you for sharing that with us. I would
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
for you to share, if you had one piece of advice for whether they're starting out or they've been in it for years, for the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, what would you say to her?
I would definitely say, don't lose yourself. So in the journey of tapping into network marketing, and understanding in God and believing in God, I feel like in this industry, you can get lost in the sauce, is what I call it. Because there's so many people that are just chasing the money and chasing success, and they'll do anything for the money and the success. And when you lose yourself, I feel like you start to become a duplicate of what everything else is. And so you lose your purpose. You lose that thing that God put in you to really go and get the people he needs you to help. Because this is an industry that could change somebody's life, but so many lives are not being changed because so many people they lose themselves. So just don't lose who you are. If anything, work on you to become a bigger, brighter version of you, and understand that in the beginning that you might look like the eyeball. I was the eyeball for a long time. Nobody believed that what I was going to do was going to lead to success at all. And I was okay with that. And I just dealt with that, but I didn't lose me. And even when I started to lose me, take a step back. Had to take a step back, because you don't want to lose yourself in the journey, because the journey is really your story. And that's going to be the thing that's going to take you to the top. That's going to be the thing that's going to make your people want to work with you, want to be around you, and feel the energy that you have. And it just speaks for you every time.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Your story is going to be the thing that takes you to the top. I love that. That's so true. And the willingness to share that story. I think it's so hard for people, but when you're exactly right. Like when you look at people who are at the top, it's because they have chosen to share their story. And that doesn't mean you air all your dirty laundry, but it does mean that you kind of allow people to get a peek behind the curtain of life is not perfect. And there are things that you have walked through, and that gives that person hope of what's possible for them. So, Chrissy, you are very open about your faith. Can you share with us a little bit about how does that impact your business?
Man, so it has impacted my business so much, to the point where when I told you guys I had to take a step back, as I went through the loss of losing my unborn child, I started to have a lot of resentment. And I had to tell myself that that was normal. But the way that the resentment came from me was me being very upset with God. And I think that sometimes when we go through things, we do find our way. We can blame everyone but taking accountability for what is happening to grow. So in that moment, I just kind of like tapped out of my relationship that I had with him. So everything I did from that moment was what I wanted to do. And I didn't include him in anything. And so I'm seeing success, but it was like my success went up and then it just came crashing down. And then it was a moment I said, and I was like, what am I missing? Like, why is my life just like this? Like, why am I feeling like someone who had success and was just grabbed from me? And it was a moment I'll never forget. I sit in my car a lot, and I had like these therapy sessions in my car. And then I didn't pray for like maybe 6 months. And I just sat in the car, I was just so just like, it was like he was tugging on me, like, say something to me. And I just was like, what do you want from me? And in that moment, I knew that in order for me to really grow a business that's going to give me longevity, one, my faith has to be strong enough to understand that I don't just go through things, I grow through things to be able to help somebody else. It's a part of my life, it's a part of my story. Everybody has one. And I also have to understand, like, without God, you won't, well, in my opinion, without God, you have nothing, because he's really the foundation. And so when you get off the foundation, it becomes rocky. And so in that moment, I realized, like, if I even do, no matter what I go through, I have to always understand that I have to make sure that God is literally the head and he's leading me, so that I don't go through seasons of my life that to make things worse. So faith for me in business, I don't have a business without faith, because I would not believe. And I only want to believe in the things that's going to help me grow and help other people grow in a way where it's help actually benefiting their life. So it's like I only could do that through God. So with faith, I feel like I'm able to get a lot of things done. My faith shows in my confidence. I believe that everything that God has for me, I'm going to have it. So therefore, I wake up every day as if I have it. And that helps my work ethic, which is why a lot of people tell me, like, you just don't stop. Even when life gives me hurdles, I'm like still working. That's because I just got faith that my blessings are here. And, it's going to help somebody else. So faith for me in business is like, they go together.
Oh, girl, that was like a mic drop moment. I'm over here like, we could just end right there. Like, So powerful. And I just think such a good reminder too, especially for women who, or just anyone, but specifically the kingdom minded mompreneur who maybe is getting lost in the sauce. Like I've been there, I've chased the carrots and the shiny objects, and there's nothing wrong, right? With feeling the love and enjoying that recognition and those incentive trips and stuff. But I do think, like you said, when we put our relationship with God on the back burner, right? And we start to elevate ourselves and chase after what we desire versus, co-laboring with God, you can feel it, right? Like you said, like it was
Mhm.
like you went up, you were successful, but then it came down at one point. And so really humbling ourselves and
Yes.
surrendering to what God has for us. I love too the confidence that we have in him when
Hmm.
you said, I show up every day as if I already have those blessings because I know they're coming, right? I mean, what confidence to what a blessing that we have. So for the woman that you're speaking to right now, obviously our podcast name is the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, and we had a lot of conversations behind that name, and obviously you align perfectly with our brand. You really embody the woman that we
Thank you.
are speaking to, and also just not only through how it's evident, right, the heart that you have behind your mission of helping other people and how it's obviously transformed and blessed your life. And I would love to hear, we always ask our guests what their definition of the kingdom minded mompreneur is, and I know you kind of spoke to that just a second ago, but I would love to
Mhm.
hear in your words, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, and when I seen this in the email, I was like, that is a good question. So to me, I feel like the kingdom-minded mompreneur is a mom that understands that life is not going to always be perfect, right? But with God in your life, he helps you be able to create the life that he has for you and your kids. And then when you are a mom as well, like, okay, so with our kids, as a kingdom-minded mom, we have to know that although we install the things into our children that we want them to learn and want them to know, they might go and be influenced by others and they might do the opposite. So understanding that you must still always make sure that you set up the foundation for your kids, and don't beat yourself up if you notice one day that your kids are not being kingdom minded children, even because that's what they're installing them. Just know that this is just a moment that you have to pray a little more. Like, we got to pray a lot. A kingdom minded mom must pray a lot over their family, over the people, because we know that we can do what we do in our home, but the world is out there and there's so many worldly things that your kids can get tapped into and have. So just being a kingdom minded mompreneur is also going to say, I feel like it puts God first, family second, and then the business is last. And if the top is off, meaning the relationship with God is not there with the mom and God, right? If there's no relationship there, then the family is also going to be off balance. So the family is then going to have problems. And then when the family is having problems, the business is definitely going to have problems because you are the CEO of the business. But again, God is the main CEO. So it's like you have a CEO that's non-existent because you're not even letting him lead, which is God. And then you as a CEO, you don't have a foundation because so a kingdom-minded mompreneur understands, I feel like, that there's levels to business. And in each level, you got to understand that without one, there is not the other. And you just, in order to keep it solid and keep the foundation there, you got to just make sure you pray. It's like daily activities you must do. You must, be good to yourself, talk nice to yourself, and just, try your best to be better day after day. That's kind of what I would put it in as, like, one big, you know.
Oh, so good, Chrissy. I feel like there's so much wisdom in that last statement you made, just about the different levels. And you said, if God is the CEO and you're not even including him, I had like a, mind blown moment when you just said that. Cause I was thinking, yeah, well, the person who knows all the things, if you're not even including that person into your business and you're over
Yes.
here trying to do it by yourself, inevitably it is going to fail, or you're
Yep.
going to have your priorities misaligned. So Chrissy, for those who have loved hearing you today and they want to connect with you, where can people find you online?
So you can find me online on Facebook. My name is Chrissy Barnett, Chrisssy Barnett. Instagram is I am Chrissy Barnett. And on my Instagram, I also have a podcast as well. I just kind of just like give a lot of tips on all of my overflow of information that I don't really talk about. And I kind of talk to female entrepreneurs just about building their business, tapping into purpose. It's a lot of tips there. So you can check that out too. And yeah, those are like my two main places. So definitely follow me. I'm very engaging. I like to make people laugh, smile, give advice, things like that. And those are the places you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We will be sure to include links in the show notes so you guys can connect with Chrissy. And we have just been so blessed this morning by getting to hear your story, and you're truly a light for the industry.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you guys just taking the time out or even thinking about me to have me here. And this was amazing. And keep doing what you're doing, because I feel like this is something that the more people, especially moms, need to hear more about. And I just love what you guys are doing here in your community.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur. If you loved what you heard today, could you stop and give us a 5-star rating and review? It helps our visibility on podcasting platforms so others like you can hear more of this message.
Also, if this episode encouraged you, we would love for you to pass it along to your own biz bestie and anyone else who could benefit. Lastly, don't forget that if you want to hang out with us just a little bit more, join us inside the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur community. Click the link in the show notes. Bye for now.